Our next organelle is the mitochondria. The mitochondria works like the charger for your phone. It is responsible for supplying your cells with the energy. It's often nicknamed as the powerhouse. So let's look at the structure that allows it to do that. It's a double membrane, so you'll see here the outer membrane and in a lighter orange, the inner membrane. And it produces energy in the form of ATP, and it does that by using oxygen. That's why it's so critical that you breathe oxygen. Without oxygen, your mitochondria can't make ATP. And again, it's your power plant. This video here actually shows you a mitochondria in action. So if you haven't heard of this group before, it's actually a group from Harvard. It's a combined effort of both artists and scientists. So what happened was the scientists have been studying the mitochondria and studying parts of the cell, and they approached artists who animate in Harvard and asked them to make videos of what they think the inside of a cell looks like. So you guys will be seeing these still images in your book and maybe models in lab, which are just stationary. But in reality, remember, your body is a real living thing with lots of movement. So I want to show you this video by the group called BioVisions, and it is an animation of the inner life of a cell, so what's happening inside the cell, and it's a focus on mitochondria. So you just saw one big mitochondria, and this is between the outer and inner membrane. All of these bright flashing yellow lights are ATP. And here you're seeing ATP being made right there when it comes out in bright yellow. So again, this is all in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Here's a large view of the mitochondria from the outside. So I've posted that video on Canvas for you, and this group has a lot of other fascinating videos that I've also posted. Alright, the next thing we want to talk about is the cytoskeleton. So the cytoskeleton acts as basically the structural backbone of your cell. So I've shown here a picture of a building going up. And of course, when you build a building, you've got the framework right here. And this framework is going to support your entire building, the walls and everything. So similar with the cytoskeleton in the cell, cyto actually means cell, and then skeleton means that it's the structural support, like our skeleton. The structure of your cytoskeleton in the cells is just a series of rods, and these rods are made up of proteins. And they're all throughout the cytosol, which is that jelly-like substance. And the function is the cell skeleton, and it serves to support and for structure. So here you actually have a real image of the cell, and then all of these lines you see here are those rods or proteins in the cytoskeleton, and in the background in green is all of the cytosol in your cytoplasm. There's actually 3 types of rods. We won't go into the detail of all of them, but there are microfilaments, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. That's just like when you're building a building, there's different thicknesses of wood that you can use and different shapes. That's the same here with these 3 different types of rods. Next, let's talk about the organelles called the centrosome and centriole. The centrosome is near the nucleus. It contains centrioles in them, and those centrioles are actually just bundles of microtubules, those same rod-like structures we just saw in the cytoskeleton. So here you can see the picture of the cell. Here's the nucleus, and next to it is the centrosome. And then if you look in the centrosome, you see these 2 centrioles. And the centrioles, if you look at these little rods right here, those are your microtubules. The reason why we're pointing this out is that the centrosomes with the centrioles are very important during mitosis, which is when the nucleus of a cell divides. It actually helps form the spindle, which are the thread-like structures that help actually pull the nucleus apart and help the chromosomes divide during mitosis. The final structure we want to talk about in the cell is the nucleus, and the nucleus is your control center. The control center is in its own envelope called the nuclear envelope. It's its own membrane to protect it. So that's the first structure that's important. It also contains inside of it, right here, you'll see this blue, almost spherical shaped structure in the middle called the nucleolus. And the job of the nucleolus is actually to synthesize or make the ribosomes. And these are the ribosomes, remember, that make the protein. And ultimately, they are out in the cytoplasm on the rough ER or free floating. But they're actually synthesized inside the nucleolus in the nucleus. And finally, the nucleus is the place that houses the chromatin. And chromatin is essential because chromatin is your DNA. Remember, DNA is your genetic material, and it's what's inherited from one generation to the next. It also contains all of the instructions to make your protein. So DNA is absolutely critical. And chromatin consists of DNA plus proteins that the DNA is wrapped around. So here you can see a review of the structure of DNA. It's a double helix, and then it wraps around these histone balls, which basically keep the DNA from being tangled. It keeps it packaged nicely. And then that's considered chromatin. And then the chromatin is condensed, or basically really tightly packaged and wound up into what's called the chromosome. And that's what looks here like this X. So to summarize the cell so far, we have the cytoplasm contains cytosol, inclusions, and mini organelles, each with a specific structure and function. And the nucleus contains DNA and controls the cell.